After the reveal of part 2, I see many people who are confused about how the timeline of events in Honkai Impact 3rd is. So I wanted to create this video to explain how it is and clear the confusion about it. I am going to talk about the start and end of each part of the Honkai Impact 3rd story, but I won't go through any details, so don't worry, there won't be any spoilers of the story itself. So first of all, we have the previous era civilization, which is set 50,000 years before the start of the game. So 50,000 years before part 1 of the story. The story in the game starts in the year 2016, where Kiana, Mei and Bronya were found by Himiko, and then they were enrolled into Teresa's Valkyrie training school, St. Freya High. That's the start of part 1 of the story of Honkai Impact 3rd. So part 1 starts at the year 2016. Part 1 goes on for around 2 years, where Kiana becomes the Usher of Finality. There are multiple different events that happens during part 1, but as I said before, I am not going to talk about them. I am going to talk only about the start and the end. So Kiana becomes Usher of Finality in the year 2018, which is the end of part 1 of the story of Honkai Impact 3rd. So part 1 starts at the 2016 and ends at 2018. After part 1 we got part 2, right? Wrong. After part 1 we got actually part 1.5, which serves as a bridge between part 1 and part 2. And it starts a few months after the end of part 1. This part is mostly focused around Seele, Viliona and Susanna. However, it later on focuses around Fuhua and Gracio as well. Part 1.5 goes on for either 2 years or 1.5 years and ends somewhere around the year 2019 or 2020. After part 1.5 we got part 2. Which interestingly doesn't start immediately after part 1.5, but instead it starts in the year 2023, which is 3 years after the end of part 2, but it is also before the start of a Post Honkai Odyssey, which we are going to talk about later on. This part focuses around a new cast of characters, and the story this time will shift from being on Earth and Moon, which was basically the story of part 1 and 1.5, to being on Mars, and later on the entire solar system as stated by the Wii. So first of all, part 2 is going to start on Mars, but then it will expand to the entire solar system. There will still be connections to the old cast, and there will be Valkyries from Earth. We already know 2 of them, but the focus will be mostly on Mars. So first, at the beginning, the focus will be mostly on Mars. We will have some connections to Earth, but we are going to stay on Mars for a period of time, and then, as stated by the Wii, we are going to expand to the entire solar system, which means that we are going to go back to Earth and Moon as well, and we will see the characters from there as well. So contrary to what people think, part 2 isn't going to be a completely different story. It will still continue the old story, and we will come back to that as well later on. We don't know until now how long part 2 will be, so we don't know when it will end. However, we know that a Post Honkai Odyssey 1 starts 8 years after the end of part 1, which means it starts somewhere in year 2026 or 2027. So, if the start of a Post Honkai Odyssey 1 is going to be the end of part 2, we should expect part 2 to go on for around 2 or 4 years. So that might be another connection between part 2 and part 1, which is basically that from part 1 we go to part 2, and then from part 2 we go to a Post Honkai Odyssey. And we already know that a Post Honkai Odyssey is focused around the old cast with Kiana, Bronya, May and all of the others. So we are going to basically go back to the old cast again. However, in a Post Honkai Odyssey we go back to the old cast, as I said before, but this time they are actually division leaders and they have new students. So we are going to welcome new faces there as well, but these new faces are actually students to the old faces. A Post Honkai Odyssey has a second part as well, and it will have a third part too. However, we still don't know when that part is going to start, which means that we don't know when a Post Honkai Odyssey is going to end either. This is how the timeline of events in Honkai Impact 3rd looks like, from the start of the game until where we are at right now at the time I am recording this video. I hope this video helped clearing the confusion about it. Enjoy the game and fight for all that is beautiful in the world.